shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So, there is a film that I've been thinking about quite a bit. I saw it 2 weeks ago. I'm still thinking about it. It's a remarkable film, and very likely it is definitely on my top 3 list of the year. So, the other 2 films from 2023, that is. And all 3 of these are up for Oscars, so for 2024. And they would be Killers of the Flower Moon, The Holdovers, and this film, American Fiction, which I think is one of the really great American films that I've seen in quite some time. That's pretty high praise considering I really love The Holdovers, which I think is also another great American film. And Killers of the Flower Moon, although that's a different type of picture altogether. So, American Fiction is a film I just want to discuss briefly because I think it's a film that is, I don't know if this film is being placed in a proper context. There's a lot of talk nowadays about film criticism, courtesy of Chris Stuckman on YouTube. So many of you know what that controversy is about. There's nothing that he said that was really controversial, and a lot of misinterpreted what he had to say. But it has a lot to do with understanding that sometimes there are films that come out that are partly satire and partly human drama, or essentially drama. They end up being almost like the box within the box. In other words, American Fiction is essentially a picture about an author, played by Jeffrey Wright, Thelonious Monk Ellison. Jeffrey Wright is a great actor, by the way. But anyway, he's playing an author who is writing about stories that just don't seem to really encourage enough of an audience. He seems to be mostly writing dramas about the experience of perhaps being black in today's society, but moreover, strictly about people. And his books don't sell very well, they don't get enough of an audience, and then he finds out that there's this woman, Sintara Golden, who's written a best-selling book called Weeze Lives in the Ghetto. So you have a pretty good idea of it being a stereotypical melodrama. And Monk decides he's going to write one of those type of books, mostly because he needs money to help his mother, has Alzheimer's and needs a good hospital to be in, or at least a care center where she can get round-the-clock care. Now, the book that he writes is called My Pathology, spelled P-A-F-O-L-O-G-Y, and it is very much a stereotypical melodrama with coarse language and archaic thoughts. And I think it's important to illustrate that because he is a professor as well, Monk. And at the beginning of the picture, he's giving a class on a book. Basically, he teaches Southern literature. And American South literature, I should say. And so you're going to encounter, as he says, some archaic thoughts and coarse language. And one of the students, who happens to be white, has an issue with the title of one of the works that he is discussing. And the title is, of course, written on the blackboard, and she says, oh, it shouldn't be up there. I'm offended by that word, that kind of thing. You pretty much know where that's leading. So now he's writing this book, and he pretends to be an ex-convict, and he uses an alias, and it becomes a bestseller, and he is shocked by that and angry by it. And really, the film has been advertised mostly as a satire, but it turns out it's mostly a humanistic drama about familial relationships. He has a relationship with a woman who clearly has an interest in him, and he also, the relationship between him, which is not given a whole lot of time for obvious reasons, which I won't get into. Lisa, played by Tracy Ellis Ross, that's Diana Ross's daughter, who is a doctor. And then there's the brother, Sterling K. Brown, who's a plastic surgeon, just had a divorce because it turns out he's actually gay and that sort of thing. And it deals with a lot of that in addition to Monk's mother having Alzheimer's. Now, but the film is very much pinpointing itself as a human drama. It's very much about the drama of all these relationships. And the writing of this book is the very thing that is certainly part of the film and informs the picture overall, because it's about what it is that people expect from black literature nowadays, when in fact what they should really expect is just literature. There's a scene where he's at a Barnes and Noble type bookstore, and he finds that his books are in the African American Studies section. He says, "What are they doing here?" Takes them all out and puts them in a different section and that kind of thing. So, but the interesting thing about the picture, as I said, a box within the box, is because the drama that's inherent in this film could be applying to any family. It need not be black. Anyone can have a mother who has Alzheimer's, who has a sister with issues, a brother also with issues, that kind of thing. You don't have to be black to have those problems. And the interesting thing is that the drama in and of itself is probably one of the type of books that Monk would write. And of course wouldn't get much of an audience. And that to me was fascinating about this film. And I still think about that a lot. It's just amazing. And it's definitely a great cast. As I said, this is a first-time writer-director, I believe, Cord Jefferson. This film is based on a book called Erasure from 2001. The question that really comes up a lot in this film, American Fiction, is how can such a phenomenal writer, who's not considered black enough, contend with writing exploitation and showing black men as anything but regular people? And even this day and age, I still wonder, what does that mean, not black enough? And that comes up a lot. It's funny that it's not really related to, but there's a correlation between this film, which deals with literature, and Hollywood Shuffle from back in 1985, I believe, by Robert Townsend, first-time director as well and writer. And if you remember that film, there's a scene in there that's quite memorable, where Robert Townsend is playing this role of a drug dealer in an independent picture, and his nephew is there to observe, and he does it in a very stereotypical way. It has to be really, how can I say it? It has to be black enough, which is odd. And that's what it reminded me of, is that that's what the audience expects. And so today with literature, they may expect the same thing. If he had just gone crazy and this was an over-the-top satire and really became this sort of ex-convict that he pretends to be, writing this book under this alias, it may have garnered even more attention, this film. And that to me is that's a little problematic. But overall, American Fiction, great film. Check it out. It is streaming. It's also in theaters. I wish I'd seen it in theaters instead, but nonetheless, it has a very harmonious balance, this picture, between exaggeration, derisive humor, and heavy drama. And it is handled with expert finesse. It's almost like this is a guy who had been a veteran director making his magnum opus. So I can't wait to see what this guy does next. It's amazing stuff. And this film is pretty much, it plays like a bittersweet jazz piece. I wouldn't say quite Charlie Parker, but along those lines. And it's something we need to hear more often. So there you have it. So I don't know how American Fiction will fare. I would hope maybe Jeffrey Wright would win an Oscar. I'm good with either him winning or Paul Giamatti or whoever. But this is a film that shouldn't really be ignored. But I don't know how this film will do in the future, how it's going to play out. More reviews upcoming soon. That's all I got to say for now. Tell me what you think. Have you seen American Fiction? What do you think of the actor Jeffrey Wright? Let me your thoughts. And thank you to the new subscribers that have subscribed to my channel. I appreciate that very much. Hoping to get more, of course, as always. More shows are coming, believe it or not, even though I'm working also on a short film. But I will be doing a little bit of everything. And in as far as Chris Stuckman, I guess I did mention him earlier, I didn't really follow up. Film criticism should always embody not necessarily the hard work that people put into a picture, although I think he only mentioned that briefly. He wasn't saying that that dictates quality one way or the other. So that if it's a bad film, don't talk about it because a lot of people put sweat and tears into it. That's not really the thing. But what I wish he would talk more about is how films like this need to be talked about more often, and not just Madam Web and some of the comic book movies that seem to pretty much pollute our cinemas nowadays. Nothing wrong with it, but there should be more variety, and that's what I wish Chris Tuckman would get into more. It shouldn't even have to be about the merits or lack thereof of something like Madam Web. So anyway, that's that. So let me your thoughts, please. Subscribe to my channel if you already are a subscriber. Hit that notification bell for future uploads. That's all I got to say about American fiction. Let me your thoughts. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.